True fans live for their team. For those true U of A fans, there is Hughes Federal Credit Union. Show your U of A spirit and put technology and convenience at your fingertips. Hughes Federal Credit Union. Smart choice.
Welcome to Greg Hansen's Video Notebook, brought to you by Hughes Federal Credit Union. I'm Star Sports Editor Ryan Finley, here with Greg Hansen. Greg, I read on Twitter that you were presently in Pittsburgh interviewing for a job at the Post-Gazette, and yet you're sitting right next to me.
Well, the facts were a little wrong. I was trying out for the Steelers.
Well, they need a new safety since Troy Polamalu left. You know, the big story in Tucson sports this week, and it shows you how much basketball dominates the headlines, is a erroneous report out of Pittsburgh that Sean Miller was there interviewing for their vacancy, the University of Pittsburgh, when in reality he was sitting in his office in Tucson, Arizona. Is this just a lot of us bored and still jonesing for some basketball, or is this a real story?
I thought it was good because it got the story out of the way. That story was inevitable. It was going to come at us. Right. And Sean Miller, apparently in his office, is told of this tweet and goes out and takes a picture of himself. Right. And I'm glad it came and is gone because it was going to be a story here to some degree. Right.
There's always obviously going to be somebody who wants to connect a coach with where he went to school. Yeah. But the old return home hardly ever works.
Yeah, it's only been pulled off by a couple, Bob Huggins and Roy Williams. That's about it. Right. Who else?
Well, I mean, even look at the reason why that Pittsburgh job is open is Jamie Dixon, who went to TCU, was getting a little bit of a hot seat at Pitt. Yeah. I think in sort of a Dick Tomey style, people didn't respect the fact that they were so good every year but never great. And, you know, he goes back home to TCU, soft landing spot, $3 million a year. But come on, Greg, is he ever going to take them to a Final Four?
TCU basketball? No way. In the Big 12? Yeah. You know, the thing about Pitt, when I did some research on it, that caught me a little bit unaware was they've got one player in the NBA. Yeah. One. Yeah. They averaged 9,000 fans in a 13,000-seat arena this year. So, you know, it was time for him to go.
Sure. And well, and Pittsburgh is a pro sports town. I mean,
yeah, you're number 4 there.
You're number 4. I mean, and you're a distant 4 there. And even if they got things going good, you're never going to be the Steelers. You're never going to be the Pirates. You're never going to be the Penguins. Penguins, who are a bigger deal than maybe both of those other teams. Is that why Sean Miller, you think, went no? Or is it the money that he has coming here, the recruiting class that he has coming here, or what?
I think in order, it was all these recruits. Yeah. I mean, Terrence Ferguson, a 5-star recruit's here this week. Right. Josh Jackson isn't going to come here if Sean Miller flies back and listens. Right. The 2 guy, Kobe Simmons, is probably not going to come if Sean listens. Right. So he would have imploded the U of A program if he had gone back there, I think. Right.
To me, the big question now is these stories are going to keep popping up. Oh, yeah. If Roy Williams leads North Carolina to a championship and retires,
who else is there?
Hubert Davis, who's his assistant. Yeah. But I mean, Sean Miller is going to be on a short list. If John Calipari goes to the NBA, sure. Sean Miller's on a short list. If Rick Pitino, if somebody there finally sobers up and bounces Rick Pitino out of Louisville, Sean Miller's going to be on the short list. How many of these are we going to have to endure here as people who follow the U of A?
I like the intrigue of it because I lived through the Lute Olson going to Kentucky saga twice. And both times I knew he was gone. Yeah. And both times he came back because he didn't want to live in the fishbowl. Right. And I think Sean Miller might have some of that in him.
Yeah, that's a really good point. Well, it's always basketball season apparently in Tucson, Arizona, even with the Wildcats out of the tournament. Greg, we're on to the Sweet 16. Very briefly, does Oregon have what it takes to make a Final Four run?
You know, I've never cheered for Duke a game in my life. But I think I might cheer for Duke because I just don't like Oregon's Nike stuff.
Really?
So I may say Duke's going to win that game.
This is a generation gap right here because their stuff is fantastic.
Yeah, it is fantastic.
The Fighting Ducks, they should wear orange shoes because Ducks have webbed feet, orange webbed feet.
Okay, if they do that, I'll cheer for the Ducks.
Done. That'll do it for this episode of Greg Hansen's Video Notebook, brought to you by Hughes Federal Credit Union. For Greg Hansen, you ever been tempted to go home?
I wanted to forever. Yeah. And when the time finally came about 10 or 12 years ago, I realized I was a Tucsonan.
Right. That's the old phrase, right? Can't go home again. Yeah. Yep. I'm Ryan Finley. We'll see you next time.
True fans live for their team. They buy the gear, they order the tickets, they pay for the seats and the experiences. For those true U of A fans, thankfully there is Hughes Federal Credit Union, offering the latest payment choices such as U of A debit cards, paying online, paying a friend with pop money, or using Apple Pay with your mobile phone. Show your U of A spirit and put technology and convenience at your fingertips. Hughes Federal Credit Union. Smart choice.